Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And in studio, I have one of my closest homies that he'd say comrade, definitely. And now just like so much more to add to the title. And in that title definitely is a doctor, meaning that doctorate has been passed through, even though a lot of times, people be like, doctor, even beforehand, but he was already headed in that because I don't think I know anybody that reads more books than him, right? Also, leader in community, leader in struggle, leader in a lot of empowerment, but really, now that I think about it, since knowing him, really leading his way into manifesting better realities and success for himself and functioning within community. And also, when we talk about communities, it's just communities of the Michigan Roundtable. So, in leadership, Dr. Yusef Bunchy Shakur, how are you today?
I'm great, my brother. Thank you for having me again.
Definitely. Last time I had on some of the other leadership, Mr. Joe, as I say, definitely, I don't think there is a leadership tandem that can take y'all 2-on-2 in basketball.
I'm just gonna throw it down to Joe. Let him do his thing.
Be like Wimbiana. It's like, they won. Yeah, definitely. Man. So, Michigan Roundtable, people should know, organization has been around for years, but definitely the shift in just communities is really highlighting a lot of what so many people focus and talk about. It's neighborhoods throughout the Detroit area specifically, but more so just like really getting back into neighborhood leadership for all communities.
Right.
And it's throughout the state of Michigan. It's been some nooks and crannies that you all have taken me to where I didn't even necessarily know what was going on in these places, because people are like, oh man, over there in Battle Creek is this, that, and the other. And it's like, wow, Michigan, it's like Detroit is different. Michigan is a lot. That's what I can say. You know what I'm saying? So let's in this, it's definitely taking you on travels throughout the state. Many times. I mean, years ago, I remember one time you said like, yeah, man, there's some brothers in Kalamazoo. But now that network, Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Battle Creek,
Ben Harbor,
just throughout the state. What has it been like? Really just with your lens and understanding of making connections in some of these communities throughout the state of Michigan and seeing where you can support that community and these communities throughout.
That's a great question. To answer that question first at the start, starting my own neighborhood, Zone 8, where I grew up at the work that I've been able to do, particular coming out of my own lived experience as someone who operated on that block as a gang member, who was influenced by the streets, who became what I call a street aholic, and as a result, I roamed my neighborhood as a self-proclaimed predator, finding myself in prison for a crime I didn't do. The transformation occurred through my mother's prayers of meeting my father, serving 9 years, being home 25 years, coming home with a mission of being a revolutionary. Hitting the block hard. And I say hitting the block hard because there's this statistic that's hovering over my life that says I can't go back to my neighborhood and be successful.
Yeah.
If I die tomorrow, I've broken that myth.
Yeah, very much so.
I've done what very few have been able to do, who've only dreamed of doing, going back on literally the place that I've caused harm to cause create opportunities for my community. And that became my motto to going into other areas. Because unfortunately, the person who I once was exists in multiple areas, in not only Detroit, but in Michigan, across the country.
Yeah.
And the ability to folks to connect with the opportunity to see authentic change. And to see like how can we create this model in my community? How can we create this model in my household and my church? And that's the leadership that I represent. That's very authentic. That doesn't miss the boat, but create opportunity for all of us to be the change that we want to see in our communities.
Yeah, and in that journey, as like I say, because just from knowing you for definitely more than like a decade plus. I don't even know how long now, but it's been a minute.
Yes.
Where those travels have taken you and some of the people and the relationships that have built bonds, not just with me, but so many, sisters in movement and revolutionary work and community work. Definitely other brothers, older, younger, and even allies outside of different races, different orientations, different perspectives on life. I guess leading with that sincerity and that sense of genuine character is where the bonds are created and formed. But it's definitely also opened you up to, as you say, like what empowerment and giving, I guess, access and supporting other communities could look like outside of Zone 8 itself.
Right. I mean, again, when you think about the mission that I've been on, restoring the neighbor back to the hood, that was the slogan, that was the work.
Yeah.
The annual backpack event, we just celebrate 20 years.
Yeah.
The Urban Network Cafe, opened up in my neighborhood, transition that into the Mama Akua Community House. So I don't necessarily always talk about this in this matter, but when I look back, I've been a trailblazer.
Oh yeah, man. I mean, yeah, you open we remember it's like you open a bookstore on Grand River at the point in time where, I mean, I would argue that the Urban Network may have been like one of the first new businesses on Grand River that wasn't like a dollar store, or like it was like the first, like it's like for real.
It wasn't a gas station, car wash, and any of those characters. Not saying those are bad, but they have a different connotation, right? So again, I've been a trailblazer in that way, and creating opportunities to many folks have come through that pathway who we see now.
Yeah.
And I slew all of them. Yeah. For me, I've been more like a Robin Hood in my neighborhood or in other neighborhoods. I pick my head up a little bit here and there, but I just do the work. But and to me, add context. Everybody say do the work. I literally do the work. I mean, you know me on that aspect of someone who's out here, using my life as a transformational model to help create transformation in our community. But also that transformation is continue to transform myself to be the leader. And today I stand as a leader. Yesterday I was a leader, but a leader of myself, not a leader of men, leader of women, leader of my community.
I mean, even from it, like just knowing the story, like okay, let alone like the Urban Network, from knowing him is, from enough stores and stores that I think stalwarts in our community, strong, known, but not wanting to accept your book. It was like, I'm gonna just make my own bookstore. Like, exactly. And so first off, like the audacity to think in that lens, and as we definitely always applaud, like, okay, it's gonna take that confidence and being audacious to move things, but also the amount of bringing people along with you and finding space and place to what began as kind of like what starts with like definitely a lot of like your book itself, Window to My Soul, but a lot of like the books from your collection, but then a creative space with music, poetry, food, and welcoming events. Like it slowly but surely becomes something that so many more people support, where it's like, wow, this has become, people coming to town and they're like, oh, we want to go to Urban Network. Like you would have, like, it would have, at a moment in time, you could have set an Urban Network in 7 days. It could have been a reading from, it could have been readings from, like T. Miller, performing poetry. Yeah. It could have been
Tawana
Petty, to Shaka providing an event, like a book signing, to somebody like, hey man, Danny Glover's coming to town, so I want to pop in there with him. Like right. It's just a mix of a place and space where
you might see General Baker there.
Yeah, General Baker,
Malik Yakini.
Yeah. I mean, so many people.
Ron Scott.
Yes, rest in peace, General Baker and Ron Scott. Yes, but so many people that I would say that didn't necessarily have like access to so many other platforms, and you were just saying yes welcoming energy where like you were like, hey, I just really wanted a space to sell my own book, but it welcomes community in that facet.
Absolutely. And I mean, the names I mentioned, and it's numerous others, Grace Lee Boggs.
Very much so.
That all who began to take a young brother such as myself, Marion Kramer, original Panther members under their wing. And they saw something in me, but also to your point, that ambition, that determination, but that revolutionary critical thinking too. Again, like we have people doing work, we have people writing books, but who remind them of themselves, and that's what gave me the confidence, and I wasn't looking in them, but they saw it in me, and to now position me to be the executive director of the Michigan Roundtable, the first Black person, the first formerly incarcerated, to hold this position in the 85-year history of the organization. We're the third oldest organization outside the NAACP, the Urban League, and so our vision up under my leadership is to build community power, dismantle stigmas, build pathways, youth leadership, arts and self-determination, corporations for community. But again, this has a history. It doesn't just fall out of the sky. But also, I challenge myself. Because again, you know me kind of better than anybody else. Like, we're similar in the sense of we're homegrown. We're on our blocks. We're in our communities. We wear them on our sleeves. We articulate them. I didn't want to leave that, but also I knew I needed to grow. So I take that with me. And as I take that with me, being able to articulate that in rooms that it doesn't get articulated in, even though you have people who look like us, but they're not willing to be vulnerable or authentic in that sense, because they are operating in an interest that is against the community. I'm going to always operate in the interest of my community, because Yusef Bunchy Shakur exists because of his community.
Very much so. I've definitely witnessed it on so many levels, and always so what would I say? Like so direct, and which definitely goes to, and you uplift her honor so often, but just knowing her, your mother, Ava Jo, was I don't think it gets more direct than your mother as far as like where things go, and just like making it plain, and like, this is what we gonna do, and this is how we gonna do it, and this is what's gonna be done, and how it needs to happen. Absolutely. Since then, definitely, a dissertation about really exploring, definitely through the lens and like the empathy and heart for the relationship with your mother, and the journey of your mother, but also taking that on as, you set and witnessed on so many levels, even from like teaching in Head Start. You know what I'm saying? So like on so many levels, you've engaged and interacted with community. And it's always like those small direct victories that have built like some of these bonds that go back to, as you say, it's like you meet General Baker not from the lens of like the revolutionary General Baker. You meet him as granddad.
Right.
Because you're working with one of his grandkids. Correct. And it's like, yo, man, I'm like reading about you.
Exactly.
And he's like, hey, don't give him no more Jello. You got too much sugar. I'm just
Yeah.
So like these bonds that do exist. So as you travel in the state, and just so people kind of have an understanding, definitely the shout out to Tommy and definitely what he's built with the Detroit versus everybody. We understand the manifesto, but it's definitely a lot of other communities that sometimes feel like, man, why y'all going against us? Right. So like other communities can sometimes feel as though they're not going to be given the care, the consideration, and the love that sometimes anything coming from Detroit would be given. But you're working with a lot of brothers and sisters and families, and outside, as I'm talking about like universal families, that are trying to do like something that may start as a small initiative and become larger. How has the experience of doing the work you've done in Zone 8, which, like I say, it's like sometimes it feels like Detroit versus Zone 8 at times, and that's another podcast for another day. But how have you built these bonds with others and building on those same values to know that, like, look, no, we're going to be supportive of you here in this state because this is work that we support?
That's a great question. And I answer it this way. A lot of us run out the house to try to change the world before we change ourselves. A lot of us run out the house or get into things without building the base. Particularly when you think about the last 10, 15 years, we're all able to create a platform for ourselves because of social media, and some platforms are larger than others depending on how passionate you are and et cetera. But fundamentally, my passion it's born out of my neighborhood. It's born out of my lived experience. So that's my resume. And so again, when you want to know what my qualifications is, and you go look up Detroit and you zero in 4208 Zone 8, which it has its own history. And where I've met people like they'll come out to the backpack event, and where it's at is on 14 Ferry Park. I'm not coming over there. I may not make. Those who know.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
I mean, again, there's parts of Detroit like everybody don't know. Like you familiar because you went to Northwestern, right? So
very much so. Very much so.
So you know it firsthand in terms of living in with my peers and things, your peers and things of that nature. But we've been able to change that mentality, right? Change that diagram, and so that gave me an opportunity to be recruited to go do work in Rochester, New York, go out and do work in Baltimore, go do work in Oakland, California, and Philadelphia. But again, I'm coming in having a resume in my own community, in my own neighborhood. So versus me talking good, I've done the work. And so that was my passport. And then now, again, I'm unfortunate that biblical line says prophet is not honored in his own home. Whether you believe it or not, I think there's some truth to it. So for me, I went out and built me a reputation of who I was in other parts, and now that gave me some credibility for others to see me. Because as you just kind of jokingly named, like there's been a couple of iterations of me,
very much so,
because of the consistency. The work has been consistent, but how I've done it, from being a speaker. From being an organizer, being an activist, being an author, to being a teacher, to now to be a doctor. So all those things are now has come full circle. And that has provided me to be the leader I am now of a 85-year-old organization, to be able to challenge the necessary policies within the framework of not only city, but across the state, but also from a grassroots standpoint, because I have the history. And when you marry that history, you marry that determination, that commitment with the history of my organization, with my staff, Joe Drew Huntley, Dale Squire, it makes a powerful combination.
Yeah, and you talk about the team, because the team also, and seeing so much of the talents and just building bonds, especially Dez. So shout out to Dez. And it's like at this point, Dez's family, Dez's children feel probably at times maybe like more at home in Mama Akua House, depending upon where you've been traveling than possibly Yusef. You know what I'm saying? It's like, you may, I could definitely tell you, like, if you're trying to find a gateway to something in Mama Akua House, one of the sons may know a whole lot better than Dr. Shakur. Yeah. But even those bonds, what has it been like working next to people in this work and pouring into them? I don't want to necessarily say confidence, because you're not pouring in confidence as much as providing the support for them to take the next steps and fulfill where they find the most opportunity for the vision at hand.
I think, again, early on, I ran from being a leader. And I ran for it because I wasn't ready for it. And I think I was honest with myself. And we see a lot of people run for something that they're not ready for, but because they like the popularity, they like the perks that come with it, they're going to step in, and then we see them make mistakes and they fall. Obvious, making mistakes and falling is part of life. Yeah. But I'm a chess player, so I'm anticipate my own falling, my own mistakes, and so embracing who I am was embracing those who poured in me, who cultivated me. Some of the names that we mentioned. Particular one we haven't mentioned is brother named Thug, who you was able to meet. He was original member of the LA chapter of the Black Panther Party. He was served under the leadership of Princess Bunchy Carter, whose my middle name is after. He came to Detroit and he was like, man, who's doing work around for the incarcerated? And people kept pointing to me. He tracked me down. And he built a relationship with me. He let me come out to Oakland. I stayed with him for 30 days. Yeah. And that was over 10 years ago, man. He's like a father figure to me now. Yeah. And that confidence and that how he does leadership impacted me. And I'm going to deviate a little bit to get to your point. I mean, one time I'm out there and we get in the car. We about to go see some people. I'm like, we want to see this chick, man. That's such and such chick. And it was him and another brother. And they pulled out like, man, like, what do you mean we want to see this chick? Like, we don't use that language out here. Yeah. Like, what do you mean? Like, that's a sexist, misogynistic language. Woo, woo, woo. No. And they not beat me up, but they critically rebuilding my mind to, like, if you're gonna do this work, man, you gotta do it from a just stance point. Being a revolutionary is not being a machoism and whatnot. And this they learn from their own past to correct themselves. So to get into this pathway, I think the best leaders, as we all said, is not you. It's about you. It's about others. And so, like me hiring Joe was knowing like Joe brings talents. Yeah. Joe sometimes he overshadows me. Literally.
I was gonna say, definitely literally.
And figuratively. He's a brilliant brother, right? Yeah. He's a brilliant brother. And I'm not threatened by his brilliance. His brilliance enhances me.
And also, I know I'm doing a classic. Khary be talking too much, but Joe has, through his life experience, he sees things a lot different that you would never see. And then in that path and that journey, but definitely one thing is aligned in the mission of the work at hand through the Michigan Roundtable of Just Communities. It's back to in that leadership, you're going to provide better access to others. This plays out in, people know, if you watch this enough, sports analogies. When, as they say, it's like the better players are the ones that make the players around them so much better versus and this is tough for me to say because I still am a Piston fan, but there was a point in time definitely in watching, 1980s basketball where everyone knew it's like Michael Jordan is the best player on the court, but it's just him. Right. But then he learned ways to get everyone else involved. And then it's like, damn, you got a team that's winning. You know what I'm saying? And seeing so many of those qualities, dealing with also just like the lived experiences, he's not gonna, every person is different, but it's complementary qualities where now it's a space and place where Joe will see opportunity where you may not necessarily see it, will build a bond, a connection, and move forward with the work. Dez as well and others. And this is, I really believe, strengthens any organization.
Correct. And so again, using that, what you're saying, me hiring Joe was rooted in that. He brings a different skill set. And again, as a leader, to be able to step back and see what do you need. Yeah. And sometimes as so-called leaders, we get in our own way. Because we want to make it about ourselves. And, going back to, using my mother, for example, she's the greatest leader I've ever met in my life. So that is the leader I mold myself off, using Dez Squire, who's been at the organization for a while. 10 out of 10, if I'm going in a rabbit hole, I'm taking Dez with me.
I feel that.
She's brilliant as well, brings her own skill set. And we're also in the process, to be quite frankly honest, we are rebuilding the Michigan Roundtable. We have torn down the house. We've reconstructed it, and I needed people who understand it and who's willing to do that work, and to bring on new people as we continue to build this thing out. We want to make the Michigan Roundtable not only the premier social justice organization in Detroit, but the premier social justice organization in Michigan.
That's deep. I definitely would applaud that, and also applaud, like I say, rest in peace. I knew his mom, and I definitely, in the Khary Frazier barometer of leadership, she's very high on the list because it's people that I literally, due to, we have sometimes different different things we face day to day, but I've never seen a person be able to get a person that may, have a little sip in them or other things and still actively fulfill the task all the way to the T, to like the oldest church leader that is organizing in community and still fulfill a task. That's kind of how I judge leadership. I judge it by like, would this person do, like, who can they get to activate to something versus others? And your mother in that community, I know Mama Akua House is where definitely so many people have been welcomed from around the world and so many platforms. But your mother's house, I've seen, like, okay, I didn't think that he'd do anything. You know what I'm saying? Let alone, they out here moving furniture and doing landscaping and everything. And it's like, and I know Yusef is, traveled the world and everything, but I would bet whatever I got that if Yusef asks this same guy to, do half as much work, it's probably gonna be a task that ain't fulfilled. Your mother had ways of like building relationships that I kind of marveled sometimes at it, as I sometimes see her over this way, and the people she knew over this way, like it's like, okay, I know, I've known him. You know what I'm saying? He ain't cleaned up his mama house. You know what I'm saying? Let alone his over at your mama house clearing paths. No,
and the unorthodox doesn't get recognized, and that's that. I'm an unorthodox leader. And I've said that for quite some time because of my unique lived experience has positioned me to be that. Like I'm not a product of any of the old guard, any of the institutions. No knock against them, but my life just took a different route. I've been fortunate enough to come through those venues at some point, meet some of those individuals, but I've been kind of the thumb. And being the thumb is like, because many of them tried to adopt me, tried to co-opt me. I was young, I was naive, but I knew where I wanted to be, and following my own path have created that. But sometimes when you follow your own path, it's much harder. Because in that process, you've been a rapper. You wanted to be the platinum artist and things of that nature. And there's nothing wrong with that vision, that dream. But the reality is sometimes then you have to wake up. Like, everybody's not going to be the rabbit. Some of us are going to be the turtle. When the rabbit might get there a lot faster, but the turtle gets there slower and more methodical, and the impact is much greater. And I've been the turtle, and I'm okay with that now. At one point, I wasn't.
I would definitely say, even in that same leadership, I think it's to Joe, but myself included. You provided me opportunities that, I never, I didn't have into like certain places and spaces. And also, not only the opportunity itself, it's a level of confidence within that opportunity, even if it messes up or whatever. But it's like, yo, that's my man. He gonna do it. I'm gonna connect you with them. So now I'm like talking to, venue directors and people in places above where I'm usually interacting with people to move even in this path. So I definitely can say, for me included, in you providing me access to things where I definitely never went before, it only helps, for me at least, because of our bond and the connection. But also more so the belief, because this just may be in my character. Nothing's worse than letting down a person that really shows some faith where others have not, where, you don't really, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to fumble the ball in that situation. I don't really want to fumble the ball ever, but definitely not where it's like, yo, they brought me in a space where no one else ever would. And they're like, yo, that's who I'm working with.
No, and that's a commitment to how we was raised. Our grandparents have shaped us, and sometimes we lose our way. And what it does, it reinforces confidence, right? As you were just talking, like, we built a blueprint. Like, again, we was trailblazers, but also we didn't know, like, when we doing a backpack event and I'm calling you bringing the speakers over, you doing your thing, but it's setting up to where Detroit is different.
Yeah,
those are some of the early, even though it was already happening, but people wasn't hiring us to do gigs.
No,
we hiring each other.
Yeah.
But in that hiring each other, we're building our confidence. We're building the entrepreneur spirit from a social justice framework because we're trying to impact our community as well as take care of ourselves. And that was the balance, because also too, we was the underdogs. We was the folks that wasn't opening up doors for you and I. They for every door we opened, we had 10 that was closed.
Maybe 25.
Every conversation that we had with someone, there was conversation behind our backs, or they would shake our hands and like, why he was here. I remember the conversation, like, why you ain't wear a suit? Why you ain't do this? Like, I don't come from that cloud. Like, if I do, I'm gonna do it on my own. But here we are now. Mm-hmm. And it's much it tastes much better because we done it in a way that it will kill most people's spirit. Mm-hmm. And when you look at the certain moves are being made in the city, and you're like, why you ain't this and why you ain't that? Like, I'm here. You can't talk to nobody in this city, in this state, to say I have not created some form of impact, and I don't do it for that. Like most people. It was a guy came to the Mama Akua House. They was doing an event. Mm-hmm. I had on a Muslim, like one of my synagogue guards, the Muslim guard, whatever. I'm not a Muslim, but I like it. It's enjoyable. Mm-hmm. And I'm sweeping the floor, whoop whoop, and I talked to the brother. So he went there and talked to the people, and like, yeah, that's the guy who owned the joint. Mm. That's the guy who, and he's like, man, you very humble. Mm. And like, I see you sweeping the floor, like, cause I'm not gonna tell you who I am. Yeah. My work gonna tell you who I am. That's how my mama was. Mm. That's how I am. And I'm gonna keep being that way. I can beat my chest. I can. You put my resume against anybody's resume. I think it's gonna stack up against it. Mm-hmm. But that belief and that confidence comes from me being a revolutionary who happens to be executive director.
And in this same arc, also building upon more of the relationships, and also. I guess how would I frame this? Building upon relationships, but also seeing where the opportunities align. I know you've always uplifted so much of like being like valued and focused on those values aligning at the right times as well. As you look forward, and this isn't necessarily, this is almost like less than a year's in time of this position as executive director. What are some of the visions of what you see as far as, I know you said you're going to welcome in new people to the team, but I know that'll be new opportunities, new partnerships, new collaborations. What are you looking forward to for Michigan Roundtable?
One of the good things about the Michigan Roundtable, we have been a convener bringing people together. We're gonna lean into that. I have an idea, a concept, kind of taking the what we had in the past, the Big Four, and building off that concept and that application to something, inviting others. Like, again, you and I had to kick the doors in, and others as well. So what the next generation of leadership would look like, and that has to come where we're forming some type of collective and collectivizing ourselves to be able to represent that to our people. I'm sick and tired of hearing people saying, "Who are our leaders?" Yeah, and I believe leadership exists, but the fact that the characters of the leaders or the so-called leaders are questionable, it makes you believe that we don't have leaders. And that's one of the things I want to do, is being able to present that with others who are strong, who represent a strong leadership in our community. Also, looking to out of that, organizing some form of summit march in Detroit to be able to highlight and showcase that we can mobilize Detroiters, to make change in our community.
I definitely will, and we covering that as that comes to life. It's interesting you bring up where are our leaders, as that's a discussion that I think, let's see, I'm 43. As far as I can remember, this discussion has definitely happened and been in our communities. And when I say our, I'm specifically speaking now about Black communities, not necessarily Detroit communities. And in a lot of ways, A and B kind of mixed together, but it's coming to an end. But it's currently, I think, an excellent play. And I'm definitely not the biggest theater person, but it's happening at the Detroit Public Theater right now, called Mountaintop, and it's a I would say the best way to put it is it's an imaginative take on Martin Luther King at the Lorraine Motel before his murder. And in this take, so much is shared. And it's a 2-person play, but excellent play. I thought the actress was phenomenal. The actor is great in that as well. But this definitely leads to some of those other discussions about where are our leaders, where are the where are the Harriet Tubmans, the Malcolms, the Fannie Lou Hamers, the Martins. I think a couple things come up when this discussion is raised up. First off, a lot of these the work that was laid from any of those names that I just shared. It's almost insurmountable in the value that it provided our communities. But in that same lens, as time moves on, we have to frame what we're looking at, contextualize the time, have better understandings. Some of where communities stood, let alone because of proximity, due to the iterations of the realities at the time of an America created different leadership. But other things is also the what I call you got to exhaust certain things that haven't been exhausted as in today. So I think there are many leaders that are pouring in, like what you said. But when it comes to being who's more like where that interest lies, because if leadership really is looking to provide opportunities for others, and right now, it is such a time of individualism and rugged individualism at that being a prevalent ideology. Let me speak to that. Finding that place and space where opportunities can even be uplifted that others are given can be seen, can be overlooked, and definitely not acknowledged. So that long, Khary, Detroit is different, soliloquy to get to this question. In this space of a lot being subconsciously and even consciously more pervasive of where individualism stands instead of collectives, in thinking about leadership and providing opportunities for others, what does that look like? How do you continue to walk that path when knowing, and I know that this has been something that has been opportunities that have been provided, and at times those that walk that path don't necessarily come back to the collective?
It's a great question. My value system demands of me to operate in that fashion. Mm-hmm. It's the question is will I as a human being meet that challenge? And some days I don't want to meet that challenge. Yeah. Some days I just want to go home and hang out and chill my dogs, my cat, read a book, right? Mm-hmm. But then the reality is the world is what it is. My neighborhood is what it is. The community is what it is. And there's a lot of brilliant, great people, but there's so much disconnect. Mm-hmm. And it leads to so many disappointments. It leads to so much demoralization. So your point, the rugged individualism, it kills the spirit. The machoism, it kills the motivation, even the infighting, right? Yeah. And none of these things are nothing new. Mm-hmm. And so how do you create a container for us to have a conversation? I think our community is not necessarily waiting on a savior, but they're waiting on someone or some people who have the qualifications, who've been built through the fire, that they can trust. And I think I'm one of those individuals. The consistency speaks for itself. It's just a matter me meeting the hour, and I think I'm more confident today to meet the hour of willing to make that call, and where people know me, and trust me enough to know I'm not trying to center myself. I am my best. I am at my best when I am in my collective. Mm-hmm. And so moving forward, I can tell you all the great stuff I've done as an individual, and I've done some great shit. But before I leave this earth, I want to tell you about all the greater shit I've done with others. Yeah, That is the legacy I want to leave. And I hope that's the legacy others will want to leave. And I think that requires a value system that allows us to work together. And so swapping out, instead of trying to unite with like-minded people, to unite with like-value people. So again, people may see this today and like how I'm talking and like what I'm saying, but tomorrow might not like my butt.
Yeah.
Right. But the values, it trumps whether you like me personally. It centers the work, because fundamentally, as long as you ain't tried to steal out my house, you ain't disrespected my sisters, the person I'm involved with, you ain't tried to do nothing to them, everything else is negotiable. And I think that's what we had to get back to, because the personal is political and the political is personal.
Very, very much so. And that's where, like I say, the at times, and this just becomes difficult, I think, and you're a father as well.
Mm-hmm.
This plays out definitely in family and parenting. Your uncle as well, but you provide this opportunity, hell of a access. All right, this is what's going to happen. Person begins walking that path, and it's like, all right, yeah, now they're gonna come back to the collective, and it doesn't happen. It's been many people. And sometimes it can be masses of people that feel like heartbroken. If you're in a Black community, I'm sure you guys are very familiar. It's been, a preacher that connected with a community, and then they get to a certain point where it's like, hey, I can get a bigger church, and I'm in another space.
I'm ghost. I'm out.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Or like a phenomenal educator. And that person leaves, and now, it's like the school's still there, but it don't feel the same. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it can be just like a business that people didn't even necessarily know had the impact that it had, but it does, and, people are like, where do we go from here? Kind of, you know what I'm saying? And more so moving with the, I guess, like wound of what abandonment can feel like, because I'm going to actually throw that word in, and like being like, nah, but we can still even love on our brother or our sister that definitely didn't necessarily stay aligned in the value of where we thought they would come back to the collective from afar, but also know that the next opportunity will step up and we can continue on in that work.
And to your point, I think there was those, and still the jury's out with others. Like, well, Yusef is now become executive director. What does that mean to our community?
Yeah.
Does he sell out?
Yeah.
Is he changing?
Mm-hmm.
Will he tone down?
Yep.
All the different questions.
Very
people
much
have said
so.
Publicly and privately and
Mm-hmm.
things. But again, those who know me, my feet is rooted in Zone 8. My feet is rooted in neighborhoods such as Zone 8. And I can never forget who I am. So the work that I do is not giving back. It is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
It is how my mother raised me. It's through the books that I've read. That's why, and you open me up. There's a revolutionary in me. And that revolutionary spirit governs how I do this work. And, I'll say this, like, every revolutionary is an organizer, educator, activist, and advocate. But not every advocate, educator, activist, or advocate is a revolutionary. Mm-hmm. That is a commitment that I made. But in making that commitment, I've had to figure out how to exist in this world to be able to take care of myself. And that is, there's my my political conscience and my political reality. Yeah. And my political reality is I pretty much live in a middle-class life. Mm-hmm. But my political conscience does not embrace that. Not to say that's an evil, bad thing, because there's greater things that I'm trying to do for my community where I'm not trying to put myself above my community. Yeah. Because if I put myself above my community, then how can I be relatable to my community? Doesn't mean I have to walk around like a poor righteous teacher either. Yeah. And that's and you have to live and find that balance and how to do this work, but also I think one of the great examples I've had in my life was Dr. Carl S. Taylor. Me having the opportunity to earn the doctor in front of my name was like someone who 25 years older than me, who's almost 7 blocks from where I grew up at. Yeah, but 2 different lived experience. But to meet him and at further in my life, this is the first doctor that I've talked to. And I can, he is the W. Du Bois of Detroit, and he's painting that picture for me in real time. And so when I earned my doctoral degree, all that I've been through and have become now comes full circle. Now you have the whole person, Dr. Yusef Bunchy Shakur, not necessarily leading with the academic person, but leading from the community, leading from the Zone 8 that also has the academic with it.
Yeah, and definitely Dr. Taylor, Lord knows, and also one of the most engaging conversations you'll have, or like really probably anything you want to talk about. Well, really, it'll be anything he want to talk about, really. But also kind of going back to where I posed the question, and that also, rest in peace again to your mother, Ava Jo, was one of the most altruistic traits that I definitely saw in her and my mother and my grandmother and others. It's been so many sisters in our community that, how do I put this? I don't even necessarily want to say see past a lot of the actions and that sometimes even current behaviors of people in our community, for me, in family, that is not line step with the vision of the joyful possibilities of who this person is. Mm-hmm. But to still have, I don't even want to say hope, but still see this person as, the beauty of a child of God. And it's just like what you said in the sense of like, I know that's what it is, but it's tough. It can definitely get tough. And in this space, you've even spoke about it, like in this nonprofit space, my dad even says it. It's like the nonprofit world is way tougher than the for-profit world, because in the for-profit world, we at least kind of know what we know where we're going at. It's so based on likability, this person being favorite, it can get overwhelming. So it can pull on you where it's like, wow, this person that was in the room, 7 times and said, we ain't never giving you a grant for nothing. Mm-hmm. And then still walk in and still have that same like way to interact where it's like, okay, I know this person has like literally stolen from my grandma multiple times, but she still is willing to engage, but also say, all right, I recognize this. So because you did that, not only I'm still going to pay you this, but you're going to work off that for this. And that's just where it's like, I've seen it. I'm not always there. I'm hoping in my life's journey I can reach that point so someone else can see it and it can pass on. But those are like altruistic values that I definitely saw in your mother too, to see the humanity in people even when they're not coming back to that collective.
And that humanity that you're referring to is what keeps me grounded. Because to your point, not only we see that side, but I saw more crooks on this side than I've ever seen in the streets. I saw more gangsters or wannabe gangsters on this side because you're protected. You're protected by the cloth, so to speak. And so it is discouraging. It is disappointing because also nowadays everybody wants a nonprofit. Everybody wants to create a nonprofit, but nobody wants to name it. But we know what it is for the most part because you see the money. It's easy access to getting money. You have a finance background, right? Yeah. America, getting money is the easiest thing. It just matter having the right program to get it. But when we do it in that capacity in the nonprofit, what happens? We're competing with each other. It's like you got 1 million rappers. You got 1 million basketball players. Now it's only one room for Jay-Z. It's only one room for Michael Jordan. So those who don't become Jay-Z, what happened to them? Mm-hmm. Those who don't become a Michigan Roundtable and the NAACP, the Urban League, what happened to them? Yeah. Do you just fall to the wayside and then you fall to the wayside? Does that mission fall to the wayside? Then that's creating more hopelessness in our community. Mm-hmm. And we need more people to be just the mom and pops of our neighborhoods and just to give a damn. And then if that produces money for yourself to take care of you, more power to you. But to have the right mindset, like for me, I didn't chase money in this thing. I chased the ability to want to make a difference. And that opened up opportunities for me, but also it opened up opportunity to see evil people, people who tried to buy me off. And also, and I've been told more times I wanted to hear, if you just learn how to play the game. And I'm like, what, play the game? What the hell that's supposed to mean? I'm just trying to make a difference. I don't play games. I've never really played games, and if I play games, you wouldn't want to see me in that light.
I would definitely say I concur. I concur with that. And yes, definitely it can be between what happens with board of directors and a lot of stuff, because we're dealing with opinions of others. And like you say, it can be very cliquish, and are you here and are you there? And definitely even moves that I'm making now, it's like, okay, I think that this is a place and space, but how can I walk into this space on my own terms, but still like back to that same question of like, okay, where's the balance in all of this? So it's always good for me to even see not just you, but others that I see that feel like really stay committed and are walking paths with community. And with that, in that same world of walking paths, a lot of it is definitely in competition. But the one thing that ain't competition is connecting to community. Michigan Roundtables for Just Communities does a lot of work in communities throughout the state of Michigan. With this work, as a lot of this stuff is definitely connected to grants. Right now, I think a lot of the fallout connected to the federal administration that is not as supportive of the missions at hands of a lot of the organizations in and around communities like Detroit. As that dwindles away, more of the interest in the need for us as communities to support and be present in giving to the missions of these organizations. So in that same arc, it's going to be a sneaker ball fundraiser that will be coming up. It's going to be soon. I'm going to be involved somehow. I've been gathering more and more kicks. Shout out to almost like my big brother Maceo that was like, all right, do this. It's like he gave me like 4 pairs where it's like, now I got to get other colorways. I'm gonna actually, it's like, this is feel like one of them kids now. But even like these, I call them like the kente cloth Grant heels, but I'm not gonna wear these. But these are, hey, y'all need to know. It's like the yellow and the yellow. These are some. The K Cunninghams don't come out till next year, and I'm gonna get those. But the Grant heels, there we go. But that's happening. So let us know a little bit about that.
So it's our tribute community dinner, 76 that we're adding a little flavor to it. It's a sneaker ball where we recognize community members, but also, trying to step into a new light, a new opportunity to engage the community to engage us. This is a new era of leadership for the Michigan Roundtable, and so we want to do some things differently. This idea was cooked up by Joe. Joe Drew Hunley, the deputy director of the Michigan Roundtable. I supported wholeheartedly. I was going to be down to Elevate April 9th.
Okay.
So it's gonna be a wonderful time in the city of Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit is different. We'll definitely be there. Just go to the feet. I don't even know what I'm wearing. I saw some new Kyrie Irvings, and Kyrie Irvings has some like interesting patterns that are connected to, I want to say the Ishaba tribe that he's connected to and all of that stuff. But it's gonna be a cool colorway. Detroit is different. May connect with one of these black sneaker outlets and give like a bonus to somebody with the coolest kicks. But yeah, man, so that'll definitely be fun as usual. I usually have a lot of like the classic Detroit questions. You've been on here so many times. Right. I'm gonna actually hit you with some cultural questions just because I know you're into a lot of it creatively. A documentary that has won awards across the world actually now, but you're also just a person into film and things like that too. But as I say, I don't think I know anyone that's read more books than you. Maybe Quasi.
That's my man.
Maybe, but I don't even know. You know what I'm saying?
He got me. I would concede. I would concede that.
Okay. So, but right now, what's something that is? Give me something fiction and nonfiction that you've either been thinking about. You maybe had not had to read it yesterday, last week, but you know what I'm saying. Something that you think would be cool.
Fiction. I'm gonna do non-fiction.
Okay.
Carl Taylor's book, Mayhem.
Okay.
That's a classic, man. It's Carl did his thing. Dr. Carl Taylor did his thing on that boy.
Where can they get it?
Actually, shit. I mean, if you go to Amazon,
Okay.
I mean, I gotta hit him up, but it's rooted in Detroit, man, and he takes you on a journey. And I'll just give it a little like, is this father? He names his children homicide,
Wow,
murder. I mean, like all these.
Wow, destructive names.
Yeah, and his daughter mayhem, and she's conflicted and trying to break out of this, right? This
cycle of mayhem,
of violence, of destruction, and but the way he weaved it to use this black girl, this black woman, and challenge the narrative of patriarchy and misogyny. It's brilliant. And nonfiction wise, I can't think of the name of it right now. I just started reading Twana posted Twana Petty Honeycomb a couple weeks ago. It's about the black working class in Atlanta, and it's a great book to help understand how gentrification operates, which we see clearly here in Detroit. And so I've been diving into that. That's the I'll send you a text of it, what it is.
Okay. All right. And the other one, film. You also, like I said, you're in the movies too. You follow that. I've seen a couple cool ones, but what's something that you think?
I think I'm watching Cross.
I haven't even begun that show yet, but I saw like I listen to so many podcasts. I saw a podcast with that guy. I've seen him in other things where I think he's a great actor, but I just haven't begun watching it. But now with you saying it, I may binge watch it.
Right. You know? I mean, in terms of acting, his acting is at an all-time high in this one. Actually, it's based upon a book, right? And so and it brings. I mean, well, black people are special, right? And so having this black character in this role, and they've been multiple people who done parts of this story, and I think this is the best version of it.
Wow.
Season 2,
okay.
Two brothers. I mean, it's it's complicated too. Looking at it through the lens of policing. And using blackness as to try to humanize it and things to some degree. I wrestle with that, but the issues are there, and it's moving.
Okay, because I definitely know when it comes to movies and like a good show. Even like I didn't even know you were watching that Godfather of Harlem, and you was man, even watching that, which I actually think that the brother that played Malcolm in that did a really good job, just period, leading up to with mannerisms and a lot of things. But
actually, I encourage folks to go watch the MLK, I think MLK MX. It was on Disney. Actually, you can check it on Tubi, where I think it did a phenomenal job in the first. It's a series, a documentary, or a TV series about Malcolm and Martin, and it shows, we parallel their lives as an opposition.
Yeah,
this time it paralleled their lives and synthesizing it. Like their fathers are very similar, very strong, very polarizing individuals. Their mothers, who, as a result of these polarizing fathers, husbands, their mothers are kind of taking a back seat. But you're able to see who they are as cornerstones of their son lives. And we tend to forget when Martin is in Boston going to school. Malcolm's in Boston too. He's just in prison.
Yes.
And so they're both technically on the same educational journey.
Yeah.
And so that was a very unique way to how to approach their lives. And you see they're similar in their struggles of who they become and versus who they wasn't to each other as an opposition.
Yeah, I saw that but didn't watch it. But with you saying that's something else I'm gonna watch. I just been watching. I love basketball. It was Sterling that told me it's a Amazon Prime has like a series on the ABA.
I'm gonna check that out.
That was really cool because it always uplifts. I think a very key figure in basketball history, but definitely like Detroit basketball history, and that's Spencer Haywood. Where Spencer Haywood is the first, I guess, to leave school early to play in.
They go to ABA. ABA? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean in the ABA. That's what I meant to say. Yep.
Okay.
So Spencer. They cover a lot about that, but it also is, my mind. It's kind of like another film that I really like that I'm gonna watch again. I've watched it so many times, and actually, shout out to Thornetta Davis. I was like, all right, it's like you, but Eddie Murphy's Dolomite movie, where it kind of just talks about like how it comes together. I'm big in looking at the formation of anything. I always find fascinating. Clearly, I think when we watch stories like that, it's very, some stuff obviously will be romanticized, but with both this ABA thing and I think the Eddie Murphy Dolomite movie, which I think that should have got an Oscar or something, just seeing the creative ways. And I think these are the best things. Like when you don't really have much and then you just say, okay, so we're going to do this. But here's one of those things, the dunk contest. The reason the dunk contest started was because at the time the ABA was running out of so much money that they couldn't pay the halftime band.
Oh, wow.
So then they went to the players and said, hey, would y'all do a dunk contest? And it creates the reason why, not now, but basically the reason why for almost 30 years, people even wanted to watch the All-Star game in the first place.
Wow. And
I think a lot of stuff happens like that. Like you don't plan it, but it just be like, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying? Just happenstance. So stuff like that always makes me think. And, and also, as I've always told, really, I told one of my white friends at the time, okay, the Eddie Murphy's interpretation of Dolomite will make you think that this movie is a different type of movie. But if you watch the real movie, it's like I said, watching the real one, it's you got to prepare yourself for you got to prepare yourself. You know what I'm saying? But with that being said, yeah, definitely creativity, new ideas, new things. And we're definitely talking about that. I don't know what that will be. Even connecting really with Detroit is different. You've been one of the people I've interviewed the most over this time. Thank you for sticking with this because Lord knows over the arc of starting this podcast to where podcasting is now, it's become a whole thing.
No, and I appreciate you for who you are, man, and you being one of the pioneers in this podcast game, particularly in Detroit. You was there at the beginning, even when saw the vision. So to see here, 10, 15 years later, it's the new thing. Wow.
Yeah, definitely. And I know we didn't do a State of Black Detroit this past year for a couple of different reasons. Definitely, obviously, y'all probably know, one of the key ones is now we got some Black executive leadership in the city of Detroit. But that will definitely come back. We're looking at what will come together and evolve from that. But as always, every year at the Backpack West, we've continued on. And it's so funny just even looking at those discussions we have year to year to year to year. It's interesting, and that's the cool thing about these archives.
Yes.
All right. With that, peace.
Peace.